Welcome to another fun-filled edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and Lakeena McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, so you can download and listen to all the live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So happen to miss them, you can go back and listen to them and watch them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, please find Sports Zone Chicago on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I know this is Monday, I'm going backwards, but please follow me here. Speaking of our podcast, Second City Sports, you can go to War Media Podcast, as we are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine box as you're ready. WARR Media PODCASTS. That's War Media Podcast on all podcast platforms. And while you're at it, please go ahead and give War Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour live extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I've given Lakeena full power to give you fools to build and be a boot.
Bye-bye.
But before we begin, we must remind you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download the Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku TV, you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, like I'm using right now. Lakeena is using her personal PC. Just go to that Google Play Store and download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV, live and on demand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Anytime, anywhere you want.
And you know we will provide.
Okay. All right. We got a busy show ahead. Of course, we'll recap Game 2 of the NBA Finals as Miami Heat. I guess we'll get to all that in a second. They even their series with the Nuggets. We'll see if Florida can even their series in the Stanley Cup Final tonight against Vegas, and some other stuff that's been happening too. In and around sports. Maybe some sports media news. Of course, it's Monday, so it's old school TV Monday. We'll see where we're going this week, but. First, we're going to talk some baseball. A pretty good weekend for our Chicago teams. Of course, we'll start with the Cubs first to kind of get them out the way. The Cubs take 2 out of 3. Well, they're going to be playing their 4th game. Of course, it was a weird Monday wrap-up series against the Padres, but they have already won 2 out of 3. Marcus Stroman pitched another gem yesterday, and also has a second. I guess he has the second best ERA in the National League so far this year. I mean, I think he had one hit and. And it's sort of like, I guess, trying to, I don't, he's going to be a free agent after this season. So some people say, well, maybe they should trade him or whatever, because they're not going to be in the contention, but they're right there. I'm talking about the Cubs are. So, but, so far, so good for the Cubs right now. And they looked really good. Their pitch has been, solid. Their hit has been, pretty good as well. So, Sid, what do you think about the Cubs this weekend?
I'll start in with the Cubs offense. It looks like the Fats are really starting to turn it up another notch. And we talked about it, Lakeena, all year long, at least for the last month or so. The Cubs, with that great pitching staff, even though Justin Steele is hurt right now, if you get between 4 and 6 runs a ball game, this starting pitching staff should keep you in the ball game. Of course, their problem has been their bullpen. Of course, they got exposed again on Saturday night. But with that being said, the offense looks like they turned it up a notch in terms of the home run. I believe they hit 3 home runs yesterday. I know Dansby Swanson hit one on Friday as part of that 2-1 win in that series opener. So those Cubs bats are starting to come alive. You talk about Swanson, you talk about Seiya Suzuki, Trey Mancini coming off the bench. Matt Mervis, even though he's going through his rookie slump right now, it's only a matter of time before he gets going. So I like the way this Cubs offense is rolling right now. And hopefully they're supposed to get back Cody Bellinger soon. I know you mentioned that on our last show last Friday. So I like the way this offense is operating for the Chicago Cubs. The offense is not the problem. It's the back end of their bullpen is going to be the problem. But I like the way those bats came alive yesterday, and they took advantage of those Padres mistakes.
Yeah, big mistakes too. And it's interesting because Juan Soto and Stroman got a little bit of a match there. Of course, he started strutting when he got a hit from him, and of course, he struck him out. I'm sure we're talking about that very next inning. He got him right back. Miguel Maya, his first home run as a Cub, the rookie. So he went 3 for 3 in that game yesterday, and going into that game, that Saturday game where the Cubs were shut out. I mean, Darvish was dominant, and Tatis, had his home run. He's starting to heat up a little bit, but also, it was really the bullpen for the Cubs. I mean, it was actually, they were really close a couple of times. I was talking about the Cubs were, and unfortunately, they just couldn't get the hitting going, and and whatnot. So it is what it is with that. But look, they take the series tonight. They went 3 out of 4, and tonight. And look, I feel like this is good. The Cubs where you're at right now. I mean, look, the bat has been really good. Stroman's been pitching very well. We'll see how Hendricks starts tonight. We'll see how he looks. We'll get to kind of see if he's really back. I know his last start he was actually pretty solid. So I'm looking forward to see what he does. I mean, this should be an interesting finish to this series.
I agree with you, Lakeena. Kyle Hendricks, his last start was better than his first start a couple weeks ago, especially with the injury to Justin Steele. We're going to see how much deeper this Cubs starting rotation is. Drew Smiley, who started that game on Saturday, he really didn't have it. I know he had 4 strikeouts, but he struggled, and the offense was shut out. But Marcus Stroman, he had a great performance yesterday. He's your lone All-Star representative for the Chicago Cubs, and the All-Star game was to take place today. And so also too, you mentioned Kyle Hendricks. This is an important start for him tonight, and the way the injuries are now starting to hit that starting rotation, everybody is all hands on deck. Everybody else needs to step up because with the bullpen struggling outside of Albert Alzolay and Mark Leiter Jr., it puts that much pressure on their starting staff. But it all starts with that offense tonight, and we'll see how Kyle Hendricks can set the tone from the mound tonight.
They're starting to get a little bit better. What I'm talking about with the hitting. So, I know Swanson had a couple of RBIs in those 3 games so far. Seiya's starting to kind of hit the ball a little bit better too. Ian Happ had a couple of big hits. So yeah, I think it's sort of one of those things where you're starting to kind of see everything's starting to kind of get together and started kind of mapping out. And I think that's what you want if you're a Cubs fan right now. We'll get to the rest of baseball and just after the break. But I feel like the Cubs, yes, they've had some bad losses. Yes, they got swept by the Reds last weekend, and this and that. But I think they've shown you that there's actually a fight in this team, and they're not going anywhere. And I feel like they can get the bullpen together. Leiter Jr. has been kind of one of the few bright spots in that bullpen. Talon hasn't been a good signing yet so far, but I'm kind of liking where everybody is. I mean, I think it's a long season, things ebbs and flows. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do tonight, especially with Hendricks pitching. We'll see if he really is starting to kind of be like the Kyle Hendricks we saw from a couple of years ago. And and I'm looking forward to seeing what they are. Look, they're 25-32. They're still right there in the thick of it in the National League Central. So I'm not worried about the Cubs right now. I know that we have some people that are a little bit worried. I don't know if folks thought they were going to go to the World Series, but look, considering where they were at last year, considering where they are this year, I think you got to be feeling pretty good where they are. They're kind of even Steven right now.
Of course, especially the way the NL Central is shaking out. As you mentioned, we'll get into the rest of it after this break. But as far as Kyle Hendricks is concerned for tonight, if you get anything close to 2015, 2016, That's more than enough if you're a Cubs fan. But I just need him to be slightly above average in the offense to continue that momentum from yesterday. If you can get those two things, you should take 3 out of 4 from San Diego tonight.
Yeah, you really should, and we'll see what happens with that. Now let's go to the south side. Okay, it was a very strange series between the Sox and the Tigers. They swept the Tigers. Yippee! Goody gumdrops. Woo! Okay, that's nice. And look, Jake Berger had a grand
Still
slam.
on the petty train, huh?
Yeah, well, look, there's no pettiness here. I mean, I'm gonna sit here and look. Wake me when they win 10 and 12 in a row, then we'll talk, and then maybe I'll care. Right now, look, we saw they won 2 out of 3 against the Twins a couple of weeks ago. They ended up losing like what 5 of their next 7. They win 3 out of 4 in one series. They lose like 6 of their next 8. So I'm sorry if I'm not like on the train. Oh look, the White Sox are back. Okay, again, wake me when they win 10 and 12 in a row. Maybe I'll care. Yeah, Jake Berger's been. Look, I'm not going to trust anybody that picks St. Louis pizza over Chicago pizza. I know that's where he's from, but I don't trust anybody that's picked Chicago pizza. But I'm not. I'm going to leave that part alone. But okay, yeah, your pitching was solid. Cease was good. Berger hit that grand slam. Now that in the series, we had like 2 wild pitches and a pass ball that hit the umpire in the face. That's how the Sox won that Saturday game, and it was just one of those weird series where it's basically described the AL Central in a nutshell. That's basically what it is. Weird home runs off someone's head or someone's face and someone's foot or growing, and that's again like that's pretty much describes the AL Central I should say. But look, I mean that's the White Sox season how it's been. So what I know you're gonna have a lot to say about it. Look, I'm happy for Liam Hendricks. He got the win from yesterday, but again, wake me when they do this consistently. I'm not impressed.
I get your pessimism, Lakeena, but as I said for the last couple of weeks, you got to start somewhere. And trust me, if the White Sox would have lost this series, trust me, yours should have been more upset than you today. So, but we got to accept things for the way they are. Like you said, they've been consistently inconsistent all year, but you got to start somewhere. And as I told you, the Tigers are a bunch of frauds. And I know they're going through some injuries too, but they still had to play the game of baseball just like everybody else. But the White Sox took advantage of it. It all started with their starting pitching. Mike Clevenger returned from the IL last Friday. He had a stellar performance, pitching 6 shutout innings to qualify for the win. That Saturday game was ugly, but you'll take it, especially the way the Sox have been playing so far this season. And of course, yesterday, Sunday, Michael Kopech, besides that home run he gave it to Torkelson early in the game, he was solid. And he definitely rebounded from that last start last Monday night against the Anaheim Angels, where he just didn't have it. But it was all about the starting pitching. The bullpen for the White Sox has been solid for the last few weeks, and this was before Liam Hendricks returned last week. And so Aaron Bumman starting to pick it up. Kenyon Middleton is a new guy out of that bullpen for the White Sox. He's really been impressive, the young rookie reliever. Also, too, Kendall Graveman is starting to pick it up. So you're starting to see pieces here and there starting to pick it up. The question is, can they put it all together? Because they have a tough 3-game series in New York City against the Yankees starting tomorrow night.
Yeah, folks, he's been saying it for like the last 2 or 3 weeks. Every time they win a series, so we see what happens there. So that's where no pettiness is just the I look the eye test has proven me otherwise. So look you think if you think your White Sox still have a chance, hey, have at it. But look again, they're 6.5 back, and they got a very tough series. Well, no, it's 6 and no 5.5. Okay, if we have 5.5, I'm looking at the wrong standard. We have 5.5, but even still. You're not going to get in the wild card spot. There's 3 or 4, about 6 teams ahead of you. You're not going to get the wild card spot. So you got to win your division. And look, I mean, each of the other teams in the AL Central have a pretty tough schedule coming up, this week in their respective divisions. So, look, like I said, you win 2 out of 3. Maybe I might pay attention, but you've shown me, the Sox have shown me that I can't trust them. So it is what it is with that. But yeah, I mean, look, that was a really strange series from start to finish. A couple of walk-offs and wild pitches and stuff like that. So look, like I said, I'm happy for Hendricks. Yesterday was actually National Cancer Survivors Day, so I guess it was only fair that he would get the win yesterday. You're happy for him. But again, I mean, the team as a whole has not been consistent. So look, if Eloy hits itself in the face in the fence again, if Makata drops Aaron error, if Berger, okay, he has a big home run, but what if he has a bad error too? So on the field, so look, I'm sorry, forgive me if I'm not in that on that train of the Sox are back. I'm sorry.
I get that, but you should be on the train for this. Eloy Jimenez played a good right field yesterday, and I was sitting right there in section 109 to watch every bit of it. You should be happy for Eloy. He hasn't done anything stupid yet.
Well, yeah, give him a week. I'm sure he'll slip or fall or something. Look, this has been like the theme with him the last couple of years. So yeah, if he goes through the rest of the month without getting hurt, great. But if he gets hurt again, then But with that said, we'll take a really quick break. We're gonna talk about the rest of the Major League Baseball. Some big streaks, coming up too. Some teams are starting to heat up a little bit. Some teams are gaining ground, including that big series that the Yankees and the Dodgers had. So the Yankees got the best of that with the Sox next opponent. But a lot to do still. We're gonna talk about the rest of this weekend in baseball coming up next. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. More on the diamond coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Monday edition, real live and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can find Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and Lakeena's going on the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's talk about the rest of the MLB this weekend. I see our buddy Brandon. What's up, Brandon? I know he's been asking about his Houston Astros. He said he went to the Astros game over the weekend. They had a nice weekend. I'm talking about the Astros did, and I'm starting to I kind of feel like they're only 3.5 back from Texas, and I'm wondering though at this point, they're starting to get their guys back. Everyone's starting to kind of gel a little bit. You're starting to see a little bit of the team that we saw win the World Series last year. They win 3 out of 4 against the Angels. They failed to sweep them yesterday, but they won 3 out of 4, so you'll take it if you're an Astros fan. But what do you think of the Astros this week?
Like you said, they took care of business against the Anaheim Angels. We saw what they did here in Chicago against the White Sox. Of course, you got 2 of the best all-around players in the game, Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. But the Houston is good as the health of the team is concerned. I know Jose Altuve has been back for a few weeks now, and I know they lost the starting pitcher due to season-ending surgery. But you still have one of the best bullpens in the league, led by closer Jason Presley and my guy Doug Stanek, number 45, who comes in the 8th inning. So the Astros, long as their young starting staff keeps them afloat and their bullpen stays solid, they're going to be in an AL West race because, as we talked about before, the Texas Rangers, who got out to a hot start. We'll discuss what they did in just a moment, but the Texas Rangers got out to that hot start. They're led by the offense, but it's also their young pitching staff, especially after that injury to Jacob deGrom, is keeping them afloat the top of that division as well. So both for Houston, as long as they stay basically injury-free, they're going to get back in the race. So we talked about Lakeena at the start of the season when they didn't have Jose Altuve. They struggled a little bit. Now that he's back in the lineup, it looks like things are starting to turn around for the Astros. So I wouldn't count the Astros out of postseason play just yet.
Yeah, it looks like Jose Abreu is starting to kind of heat up a little bit, and Alex Bregman, and so yeah, it's still they're starting to kind of get together. People are starting to gel. So I'm sure the Astros, I think they'll be right there. And this week they actually do face the Rangers. So we'll see where both teams are by then. That should be a fun series coming up. But yeah, going into the rest of baseball here, and for me, I think Toronto. I know they've had their struggles this year. They've underachieved. They swept the Mets. So it looks like they're starting to kind of get things going as well. I'm talking about the Blue Jays. So it looks like they're kind of getting it going there. They beat in New York. I'm sure that's not at Citi Field, so that's not an easy place to play. Getting contributions from of course from Vladdy Jr. and Brandon Belt. He had a 2-run home run that led the way there, completed that sweep. So I'm starting to kind of see. I know they're in 4th place right now in their division, but they're kind of right there in the cusp in the wild card, and I feel like they can kind of fight for that. And it's starting to they can just keep up. If their pitch has been pretty good in that series against the Mets. Even though I think Pete Alonso hit another home run, which he's leading the league in that one. But it's definitely kind of where you are right now. I think you got to be feeling pretty good if you're a Blue Jays. You're kind of starting to creep back up.
Yeah, the one of the reasons why the Blue Jays were struggling early in the year it was because of their inconsistency starting pitching, especially in the back half of their rotation. And the offense went into the slump. That happens. It's a long year. Your offense is going to go into slump, so hopefully it doesn't extend for a long period of time. That's the key. But as you mentioned, their bats have picked it up, and their starting pitching has picked it up as well. So Toronto, they're going to be in the playoff chase. You have the Baltimore Orioles right there in the AL East. We'll get to the Yankees in just a moment. They're right there. Boston, even though they're around 500, I still don't believe in them to a lesser extent. They still right there mathematically. So it's going to be a dogfight for the Toronto Blue Jays, but I'm glad they're getting together right now. I know before we move on, Lakeena, I had to give the New York Mets organization 2 thumbs up because remember, this past weekend was the ALS Awareness Weekend, the Lou Gehrig's disease. on last Friday at Citi Field. They honored MLB.com researcher Sarah Langs, and her
Yes,
boyfriend
all
was out
that.
there. So he threw out the first pitch, and the crowd gave them a standing ovation, which was a great moment. And then, of course, on Saturday, the Mets Hall of Fame introduced 5 new members into that franchise's Hall of Fame, including former pitcher Al Leiter, TV and former radio voice Gary Cohn, and Howie Rose.
Yeah, that was a really nice moment there, and that was really nice of what the Mets did. So yeah, that was a pretty cool moment there over the weekend, even though the Mets got swept by the Blue Jays. But you know what? I think you'll take it if you're. It was
Mhm.
a nice win nonetheless. Now going back to staying in the AL East, of course, the Yankees. They got a nice series win, excuse me, against the Dodgers, taking 2 out of 3 there, and it looks like their pitching started to get it going. I think the hitting's been pretty good. We'll see about Aaron Judge's toe. Apparently, I guess he got hit on his big toe, and it might be broken, it might not. He's kind of keeping that kind of close to the vest, but even still, I mean, they still had a very solid series against the Dodgers. And they've had their look. I mean, the Yankees credit. I mean, they've actually had injuries all season long. I mean, this would be Judge's second trip to the IL, and they've had other injuries in other places, especially in their pitching, but they've been pretty
Yeah.
solid. So it's kind of like it's sort of you saw what happened in that with Judge. He had a great catch, but I guess his foot, I guess his like toe hit the fence, I guess. And now where there's no
Yeah.
running on him, he might be out for the Sox series. We'll see there. But Anthony Volpe has been really solid too. He got that 2-run home run that kind of broke the game open there. So, yeah, I think if you're the Yankees, you got to be feeling pretty good where you're at right now. Because look, this could have easily, fallen off the rails this season has, but the Yankees have actually been, sort of stayed steady, and they've actually been, playing pretty well.
Yeah, it was an exciting series to watch. Let's go back to Friday's game. Mookie Betts, perhaps the best right fielder in the game today. He had 2 home runs. I know Giancarlo Stanton just returned to the lineup about a week or so ago for the Yankees. He hit a home run in his hometown as he returned home to LA. And the Yankees starting pitching just wasn't there that night. But the last 2 games, Lakeena, for the Yankees, the reason why they won the series because of great starting pitching. Gary Cole, on the game on Saturday night, he had 5 strikeouts through 6 in the 3rd inning. 6 full innings, I should say. Domingo Germán last night, he was solid with 6 strikeouts. So the Yankees starting pitching needs to continue. I know they're going to get Carlos Rodon back hopefully at the beginning of the next month of July, and so they have to keep that up as well. But the injuries, like you said, that they're starting to pile on them. Aaron Judge had a great performance on Saturday. He had that big home run and that big catch, as you mentioned. I don't know if you saw that. What the Dodgers organization did to that fence from last night's game, Lakeena. There's a blue masking tape, duct tape, and that little cheap chain link fence locked that bullpen door. Of course, that was a right field bullpen door that Aaron Judge crashed into on Saturday night, making that great catch. So overall, it was a good series for the Yankees. The stars were out, including Spike Lee in his little Yankees jersey. All the Hollywood stars were out. Both teams put on a great show. The Yankees, it started with their starting pitchers, as I mentioned, with Gary Cole and Domingo Germán. If you're a White Sox fan, both of those guys will not pitch in the series, so it's good news for us. But with that being said, it was the offense that really carried it home, and they had some great coaching, especially in last night's game, as you mentioned, to put that game away 4-1.
Yeah, it was a solid, very solid and a very entertaining series nonetheless. For the Yankees, you'll take that too. Now, another team that you'll take, going to the AL in the National League. In the East, you got the Braves. The Braves win 2 out of 3 against the very surprising Diamondbacks. And I'm hoping they found a couple of those balls that Acuna hit, because he hit I think on the Friday's game. Unfortunately, the Braves lost that game. But he hit a home run that was like, I think it went to went to probably somewhere like in Colorado or something. How far it was, 450 feet, and that's his 5th home run of such thing. That's more than, I guess, what the Rockies and the Giants, and I guess the Braves overall lead the league there. So they hit a lot of moonshots against batting practice, I guess. So they had a couple more yesterday, and I think they've been up and down this year. You kind of. Marcell Ozuna, unfortunately, was, not hustling. So he got pulled out of that game, that rubber match there. But if you're the Braves, you got to be feeling, pretty good where you are right now, and especially with the Mets being swept. You kind of have to sort of like be kind of, they've been actually really solid. I know they lost 2 out of 3 to the A's, which that was a bad series for them. But nice bounce back against one of the most surprising teams in the league.
Yes, and also too with the Atlanta Braves, again, great starting pitcher from Max Strider, and some of the other guys that are in that starting rotation. But like you said, like you see all that star power on offense for Atlanta. You're talking about Ronald Acuna Jr. Perhaps he should be up there as one of the best right fielders in baseball. Don't forget about my guy Ozzie Obleas at second base. He has some swag, and I know his offensive numbers are not there yet, but it's only a matter of time before he comes out of it with his bat. Also, too, don't forget about Matt Olson, who they acquired last season to replace Freddie Freeman. So with that big left-handed bat, so the Braves have talent. It's just that can they keep the Mets far down in the NL East? Because look here, the Miami Marlins, which they swept Oakland over the weekend, which they did what they're supposed to do. They're still hanging around. Remember around this time last year, Lakeena, they went down the tank. They started trading everybody. Will that same scenario play again this year? We'll see. And also, too, look out the Philadelphia Phillies. They took care of the Washington Nationals in our nation's capital on the road this weekend. I believe they're still 5 games under 500, but they're starting to come out of their early season slump as well.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if they can kind of keep it up there. So like the Phillies, look, they're trying to get it together too. Another team that maybe you should start taking the Pirates seriously again. They swept the Cardinals over the weekend. Rich Hill, probably had one of his best outings in a while, and
he's still hanging around, huh?
I know, weird, right? I mean, look, he kept them off balance with a lot of their pitching. Kept them guessing. Completed 6 2/3. He didn't complete the 7th inning, but he did get the win. I think it was his 5th win this year. I'm talking about Hill. So, I'm still a little bit, kind of a question mark about the Pirates. I don't think we should take them seriously still, but they're still hanging around after that little drop they had at the end of last month. They're trying to kind of they've kept up a little bit. So we'll see about the Pirates. We'll see if they're for real and whatnot. The Brewers had a solid weekend. They did what you're supposed to do too. Well, we'll see. They got a 4th game tonight against the Reds, but they have won the first 3, so they have won that series. So we'll see if they are starting to kind of, like I said about the Cubs. I mean, look, that NL Central, no one's going to pull away from that NL Central, and I feel like as long as the Cubs do what they're supposed to and make sure that they can get themselves together, get their pitching, especially that middle relief together, they can kind of be right there. They're 6.5 back as we're recording this, and 5.5, I should say, as we're recording this. And like I said, we'll see where they are by the time end of the month.
Yeah, like you said, we said before, the Cubs have a chance that they can get themselves together. First, they had to get at 500, but you look at the rest of those teams in the division. Pittsburgh, even though they have that great young talent, remember they're still missing O'Neal Cruz, and he's going to be out for a little bit while longer. So that has definitely play a factor, and it's going to play a factor as the season goes along until if and when he returns. St. Louis, they still have the offense, but I'm not sure about their starting pitching. That's just me, like you said, that it was on display this weekend, and Pittsburgh took advantage of it. So when you get into those deep holes to start the season, it's very hard to. It takes a whole lot out of you to come jump back into the race. It's been done before, not too often, but it's been done before. But St. Louis still has a hole to climb themselves out of. Of course, you still have Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and Wilson Contreras, the former Chicago Cubs. So they have the offensive firepower, which is, can they get it together with their starting pitching and bullpen?
Hold on, I gotta unmute there. But yeah, I mean, that's good, really good to be the key, especially winning that division. I mean, we'll see if it's going to be the hitting or if it's going to be the pitching, because look, that NL Central, it's going to be competitive right up until the last week. So we'll see what happens with that. Now going back to the AL East, the Orioles, they win 2 out of 3 against the Giants. I mean, look, I'm loving what I'm seeing from this Orioles squad right now. They're young, Josh Lester. His single had a bases clearing double to kind of break that game open, the rubber match yesterday. And look, I feel like, I think Baltimore, I think they're kind of showing you that, okay, we'll see if they can hang around a little bit. We know their pitch, we know their hitters really, they got good young hitters. We'll see if the pitching kind of keep up with that. That was their Achilles heel last year. That's why they kind of sunk a little bit as it got, near the end of the season. But yeah, they got Alex Cobb and Wilmer Flores. I mean, not that was the Giants, but when they won that game. But yeah, and Gunnar Henderson. I mean, these are kind of like young, got young guys that are kind of like right there, especially sort of putting folks on notice. And look, they got some. Well, like I said, the pitch has been really going to be the question here for me as far as the Orioles are concerned. I'm wondering, like, could that be a Henderson like it was last season?
As we talked about a week or so ago, Lakeena, the Baltimore Orioles took 2 out of 3 in New York against the Yankees. And what was the big headline? There's young starting pitching, including Tyler Wells, who got the win at San Francisco yesterday. You still have Kramer, and you still have Kyle Gibson. So you still have some young, solid guys that can carry the staff. Like you mentioned, they had the office to go along with it. And let's not forget, Lakeena, no one talks about this as much, but they have one of the top bullpens in the league, especially on the back end with Batista as the closer, in the back half of their bullpen. They have one of the top 5 ERAs in the American League, so their bullpen is quietly doing the job. So as long as the starting pitchers can do his part, Baltimore can be dangerous, not just in the AL East, but in the whole American League. I know we have a long way to go, but let's not sleep on Baltimore, especially the back half of their bullpen.
Well, I said they're young, and they'll kind of keep it up. But I think, like I said, I think wait and see if we can kind of take them seriously in that front, because we saw what happened last year. So like I said, we'll see what happens. But I like what I'm seeing from Baltimore so far. Let me see if I could get back going there. Anything else before we start talking about the schedule?
The Texas Rangers swept your Seattle Mariners over the weekend, Lakeena, after shutting the Rangers. After the Rangers shut out the Mariners 2-0 on Friday. They scored 12 runs yesterday in the series finale, and they scored 16 runs on Saturday. As we mentioned, they have some big boppers over there: Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, and also you have Nathan Lowe. And the young starting staff without Jacob deGrom is really starting to pick it up. Their pitchers didn't really have to be on display outside of Friday's win, but that's give Bruce Bochy, the veteran manager, their new manager of the Rangers, credit. They're keeping the Houston Astros at bay at the top of the AL West division. As long as this young Rangers team stays healthy and not get too big-headed, quote unquote, they'll be there at the end.
I was avoiding that intentionally. That 16 run effort from the Rangers in that game yesterday. That's tied for the most by any team within this first 16 games over the last 100 years. Tied with the 1936 Yankees. They go all the way back to the 99 Mariners. I mean, look, I think the Rangers are kind of like, if they have a managerial change, get someone with like Bochy, who has experience, who's got World Series rings, is kind of helping them sort of be right there. Now, can they keep it up? That's a whole different story. So, like I said, we'll see. Like I said, I mean, we're about a third through the season now. We still got a long way to go. So again, wait. Let's look back on this stuff at the end of this month. Going into next month. Because remember that the trade deadline is on the 10th, in August this year. So we'll see if whose team is really going to be buying and selling by the time August 10th rolls around. So we'll see what happens with that. Now going into the scheduling for this week, you got Tampa Bay and Boston. That starts. The first game of that series starts at 3:05. Then you got
that's a makeup game from Friday.
Yeah, so they're finishing up that series. Detroit and Philadelphia, they start their series at 5:40 tonight, Monday. Kansas City and Miami, that's going to be on FS1. Then you got Oakland and Pittsburgh starting that series. Houston and Toronto, that should be a fun series. I think it could probably be like a 10-12 runs, maybe score between these two teams, who we'll see. Milwaukee and Cincinnati, they finish up their series. Like I said, Milwaukee's already won the first 3, so they've already won that series. St. Louis hoping to bounce back. They face Texas the first game of that one. And the Cubs and the Padres finish up that series. That'll be on ESPN. You treat that on ESPN Plus.
And other series will start tomorrow. Tuesday goes as this. The White Sox will take on the New York Yankees. Remember, Wednesday's game at 6 o'clock Chicago time can be seen nationally on MLB Network. That's their showcase game of the week. And other series will start tomorrow. The Minnesota Twins, who lost 2 out of 3 to Cleveland at home over the weekend, they'll travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Rays. Go Rays if you're a Sox fan. Also, too, you had Washington Nationals hosting a surprise the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Boston Red Sox will travel to Cleveland to take on the Guardians. Go Boston. Also, the TBS Tuesday night game of the week goes as like this. The New York Mets will travel to Atlanta to take on the Braves. Also, the series starting tomorrow, Tuesday, Baltimore and Milwaukee. San Francisco at Colorado. The Chicago Cubs go out west to take on Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in the Anaheim Angels. And Lakeena Seattle Mariners will have an important 3-game series in San Diego against the Padres.
And I think the Cubs will just miss Otani in the pitching side, but they still got to face him on the hitting. So yeah, that should be an interesting
and the
series.
Anaheim Angels will miss Marcus Stroman.
Yeah,
so you know they wipe when they face off like this. Woo.
Yeah, I'll say on both fronts. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
There'll be some interesting series coming up. So looking forward to that. As you listen, I can see sports on Sports Soul Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown with you. We still got a couple more minutes left, Sid, before we go to break. So I'm thinking, like I said, which baseball team has been probably, I know we probably answered this, probably last week or maybe even during our MLB discussion, but which team or teams do you think has been the most surprising? Which team has been the most disappointing? All that.
I'll go to the disappointment first. Not to rub it in, Lakeena, with all due respect, but the Seattle Mariners, I thought they were starting to get it back together a couple weeks ago, going back to 500, but they were really a no-show against the Rangers on the road last weekend. I know that they have some important games coming up. I know they'll face the White Sox at home next weekend, but Julio Rodriguez is still one of the best young players in the game. He's been doing okay as of late, but their starting staff and their bullpen has really been ineffective. So I'm really disappointed in the Seattle Mariners. Of course, we talk about the New York Mets. I know an midday host on WFAN has given he has given Buck Showalter quote unquote 30 days to get his act together before he wants Buck Showalter to be fired. But the Mets have been disappointing this year. Of course, they got swept by Toronto over the weekend. So I know they've been dealing with injuries too. So those are the two top teams that have been very disappointing to me. On the flip side, the surprising teams, like you mentioned, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that I know anything about the Diamondbacks because I don't. I'm not going to sit up here and Google either, but they're 10 games over 500 right now. They're keeping pace with the Dodgers in the NL West, so they're a surprising team right now. And also, too, the Miami Marlins, as we mentioned last year, they were flirting around 500 before they took a nosedive. They started to trade everybody, but my two surprising teams, Arizona, Miami, two disappointing teams, Seattle and the New York Mets.
Who was the most surprised? I think the Diamondbacks have been the most surprised. They're tied with the Dodgers right now. I still don't think they're gonna, be able to hang on. They lost. We talked about it. They lost their series against the Braves. This weekend. So I'm not sure if they're gonna be up there, at the top as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. So we'll see what happens. But they are my surprising team. Probably the most disappointing team. You already took my Mariners, so I'll say the Cardinals. I know a lot of people. Yes, I know they had a lot of guys retired, but you thought that maybe they were already set up. They had guys, quality guys to replace them. They had guys that can kind of pick up the slack. Now you thought that maybe they get to a little bit, but they've now lost 3 in a row. They got swept. We talked about they got swept by the Pirates. So. Unfortunately, it's I don't know what to say about that Cardinal squad. I mean, could they figure it out? Sure, because like I said, that NL Central, no one's going to pull away from that division. But I'm kind of disappointed where they are. I thought they may be a little bit better than what they are right now. So we'll see what happens there. And I'll say Baltimore. I think people thought that Baltimore was going to be like a one-season wonder from last year. That hasn't been the case. Their pitching has been really solid. Well, like I said, we'll see if that relief, that young relief staff, can keep it up. And look, all the other, we know how low they are on the hitting side. So yeah, we'll see if Baltimore is they can keep up with the Yankees, the Rays, and the Blue Jays. They're starting to kind of heat up a little bit too. I would have had them as my disappointing team, but they've won 4 in a row, so they're starting to maybe kind of figure it out a little bit. So yeah, I think those are probably like my surprising and a disappointing team so far in this young season still.
Yeah, a couple of the notes real quick. I know we're up against it before at the top of the hour, but congratulations to Albert Pujols, who just retired after last year. Speaking of the St. Louis Cardinals, he's going to be a special assistant to the GM of the Cardinals, and he's been hired as a network analyst for MLB Network. And I want to ask you about the San Diego Padres. Do you see them as a disappointment so far this year? Do you think they can turn it around? Because they have the talent, but just hasn't come together yet.
I think they can. They still got a little bit of time, but if they're still kind of in this, this sort of, back and forth, kind of like boomerang thing, by the time, like, by the time the All-Star break rolls around, then I'm a little bit, worried, but we'll see.
Yeah. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead as you're listening to the Monday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. When we return, we'll have to discuss Game 2 of the 2023 NBA Finals between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. We'll give you our quick preview of Game 3. We'll have to discuss that hockey, Lakeena. Let's do that hockey. The Stanley Cup Finals kicked off on Saturday night. Game 2 is tonight. We'll give you a quick preview of that. Plus, we'll have some sports media news. And since the month of June is Black Music Month, I'm gonna start you off with a great edition of Old School TV Monday. That and a whole lot more as you're listening to Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid the Kid. That's Lakeena. Don't move a muscle.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention.
I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of this Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and Lakeena McGee on the IG.
We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
All right, Sid, game 2 of the NBA Finals commenced yesterday after being down, I think, about like 15 at one time in the first quarter. A big fourth quarter by Miami as they even the series at 1 apiece. And just, kind of like, I guess, it was back and forth. Denver did have a chance to tie the game regulation. They did not. Murray's three-pointer would have tied it, just missed. And you wonder why didn't they call a timeout to kind of set up a play and whatnot. Butler had 21 points. Bam did as well. Also, too, Gabe Vincent had 23. Max Struss had 14. Duncan Robinson had 10 points, including all 10. All those 10 points were in the fourth quarter, oddly enough. And this despite good effort by Jokic, 41 points and 11 boards. Just another big showing by Mr. Jokic. He broke another record, of course, obviously. Let me see. He became the third player, I should say, to be posted in history with 500 points, 200 rebounds, 150 assists in a single playoff run. The only other players to do that are the.
Well, I know.
Okay, sure. Okay,
teacher,
my bad.
Teacher.
Sorry. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
All right. And no, I'm not on Google. Just to let you know, I'm not on Google. Larry Bird and LeBron James.
Yep, LeBron did it 4 times, including 2 years ago in the bubble with the Lakers, of course. Both the Cavs and the Heat, and of course, Bird did it that postseason. Of course, unfortunately, they lost to the Lakers in 6 of that, and also too, game 2 was actually the Heat's 7th double-digit comeback win of this postseason. That's tied for the most such wins in a single postseason in the last 25 years. You want to know who are the other teams that did that?
Oh, can you give me at least one small clue?
Recent. Very recent.
Now my brain is freezing. All right, give it to me.
Last year, the Warriors did it 7 times.
That's right. Damn it.
Yeah,
I knew that.
He actually did twice before that in 2011 and 2012. They lost to the Spurs in the first time in 2011, but they did, win the second time in 2012. So the Warriors and the Heat from 2012, Warriors from last year, did that, with 7. So we'll see if the Heat joins that. Well, this year's Heat team joins that company. So what do you think about that game? Because that was definitely a game of runs. Like I said, they were up for a little bit. Then Denver came back. They were up for a little bit. And then Miami came back. But then it was kind of a seesaw battle back and forth. And for all those folks that thought that, this is going to be a sweep for the Nuggets, the Heat said, not so fast.
Lakeena, remember our last show last Friday, and I gave credit to Denver's head coach, Mike Malone, for making the adjustment, especially to start out game 1. Aaron Gordon scored 12 points in the first quarter. Jamal Murray took over in the second quarter. They really set the tone for game 1 last Thursday. Let's give credit to Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra. He kicked Caleb Martin out of the starting lineup. He inserted Kevin Love in the starting lineup. I know Kevin Love didn't give you nothing scoring-wise. That's not the point. The point is to give a veteran like him valuable minutes and valuable production. Kevin Love had 10 rebounds last night, something that he couldn't do in game 1. Lakeena, besides make shots, they didn't rebound very well. And that changed the complexion of that game last night with Kevin Love being in the starting lineup. And they played better defense, in my opinion. And remember how the Heat, as you said last week, that they couldn't shoot in game 1. They missed a lot of a lot of open shots, and they missed a lot of shots inside the paint as well. That all changed last night, as you mentioned, with Duncan Robinson and Bam Adebayo, who had a great game last night with 21 points. But Max Struss, he started off with hitting 4 3-pointers in that first quarter. That really set the tone for the Miami Heat for that game last night. The Miami Heat played their style last night. And what also made a difference, too, is that extra day off in between games 1 and 2. And they made a big difference. And that's what I told people yesterday at the Sox game. The Miami Heat are going to win this game due to the extra day off between games 1 and 2. And we know that Eric Spoelstra likes to make adjustments. And like Ricky O'Donnell said from SB Nation on our show last week, if the Heat start off the game playing their tempo, playing their style, they cannot be defeated, and you saw that last night. Now, on the flip side for the Denver Nuggets, Jokic, as you mentioned, had a great game with 41 points, but you only had 2 other players that joined him scoring in double figures. Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon had a 3-pointer late that gave him, I believe, 11. But if it wasn't for that 3-pointer, you just would have had Jamal Murray as the other player for Denver scoring in double figures. Remember, I gave them credit last Friday looking after game 1. I said Denver had the perfect offensive game plan. Let the other guys get off first, and then Jokic would take over in the second half. That's what happened in game 1. Game 2 last night, Jokic did everything, but his teammates didn't follow. And I don't know if you caught the post-game show, Lakeena, last night on ABC. They had Kyle Lowry on set. And he said this, and I'm just going to paraphrase real quick. He said their game plan last night was, we know that Jokic is going to get his. He's unstoppable. But it was our job to control the other guys, and they did just exactly that last night. As I mentioned on our show last week, Denver's defense, especially from the perimeter, was excellent in game 1. You can say the same thing about the Miami Heat in game 2 last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gabe Vincent, I was actually watching the post game on NBA TV with Matt Weiner, and he's kind of doing the EJ role since EJ's busy doing baseball now. Of course, he had Shaq, Kenny, and Charles with him, and I remember Vincent said the same thing. He said, "Look, we know that Jokic is they can't stop Jokic. You can't do that." But you could outshoot them, and I think that's been sort of the thing with the Heat so far, especially this whole postseason, because the Celtics and the Nuggets, you probably say the Nuggets are just a little bit better than the Celtics, but they're very similar. They've got big guys that they can shoot. If you can tame their top 1 or 2 guys, and then let them get their shots and tame the other supporting cast, they can do just that. So I think for me, the key here was that they made the stops. Joe's got away with a whole lot of stuff. We'll probably get to that in a little bit, but he's gonna get. Yeah, I mean, come on now, but yeah, he's still gonna get his shots. Murray's gonna get his shots. The key is to slow down the other guys, like Gordon, like Caldwell Pope, who only have 4 points yesterday. You need more from him. So the other guys are the best. Jeff Green, I know people forget he's still playing in the league. He only had 9 points.
We're getting old.
Yeah, I know, right? I remember he was at Georgetown. Jeez. Bruce Brown actually was another player that was in the Bears for Denver. He had 11, and but then everyone else, there wasn't really nothing. No one else actually did anything. They only played 8 guys. So I think for me, look, you got the depth. You got the depth. Use it, and I think that's been the problem. Yeah, Joe's can only do so much. I'm hoping he doesn't wear himself out. That whole thing. That's kind of like the thing I'm worried about there. Now, he did give Denver their first loss this postseason. They had been 9-0 at that point. So it's definitely going to be one of those things where we'll see if once they'll play again until Wednesday. So we'll see if Miami can kind of they got them at home now. They're kind of like, okay, maybe Tyler Hero might play on Wednesday. We're not sure. I know Spoelstra wants to keep people guessing on that, but look, if they keep doing what they've been doing, look, hit your shots. Get other guys to step up. Get guys like Duncan Robinson, Matt Struss, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin. Didn't do too much. He only had 3 points, but he made a couple of big blocks and such in the end there. But yeah, I mean, look, if you keep doing what you're doing, look, all these people that say, oh well, it's going to be a sweep, they're going to be blown out or whatever. I think I love all their comments. Butler said it, Spo said it, Vincent said it. I think Kyle Lowry was said it too on that ABC post. They don't really give it. They know that people are coming for them, so they don't think folks have a shot. And you would think people would have learned a lesson from that Boston series in the conference finals. I guess people haven't learned. So
doing a Jordan shrug. Sure, the whole Miami organization are doing right now. You listen to Second City Sports or Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena hanging out here with you on the Monday edition, reviewing Game 2 of last night's NBA Finals contest between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat escaped Denver in Game 2 with a 111-108 victory, tying that best-of-7 series at 1 game apiece. As Lakeena mentioned, Game 3 will be on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time from South Beach. We'll give you our thoughts and previews of Game 3 coming up. Lakeena, I want to ask you about Jimmy Butler. Another quiet, using air quotes here, another quiet effort last night. 21 points. He tied Bam Adebayo for the second leading scorer on the team for the Heat. I have a strange feeling that since the next 2 games, Games 3 and 4, will be in South Beach on Wednesday and Friday for this upcoming week, he's going to bust out another for a 35 plus or 40-point game. I see that coming.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's due for a big game. I think he hasn't
Mm-hmm.
had that so far this final. I know it's only been 2 games, but he hasn't had it so far. So I'm wondering,
Yeah.
like, is he due to have that breakout 30, 35, 40-point game that we've been seeing, from him through these playoffs? So, thankfully, all the other guys picked up the slack for him because of his, not really struggling per se, but considering what the
Mm-hmm.
kind of postseason he's had, scoring 35, 40 points and such. But again, in a way, I think that's a good thing if you're Jimmy because you got Bam actually showing up because we know Bam sometimes doesn't show up in big games.
Yeah.
We saw what happened a couple years ago in the bubble in those finals against LeBron, AD, and the Lakers. So again, but yeah, I think he is due to have that big breakout finals game. I think what he only scored maybe like at most 30 points during that bubble, during those bubble finals, if you will. So I think
Mm-hmm.
he is due it. Like I said, they're doing the 2-2-1-1 format. They're not doing a 2-3-2 like it's been like the last few years. So I'm thinking, yeah, I think he is due. This is going to be at home. He's going to want to put on a show. Perhaps maybe try to win those 2 games. That way they won't have to. They can just clinch it at on the road at Denver.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Butler's due for a big outpouring game. I think that your best bet, if it's going to happen in games 3 or 4, you think it will happen on Wednesday because of the extra day up between game 2 last night and game 3 coming up on Wednesday. I think Jimmy Butler, remember, he's still dealing with that ankle injury, so it's going to give him an extra day to heal up. So I think Jimmy Butler will have a big game tomorrow night. If it's a 35-plus performance, you can thank yours truly here on Second City Sports for predicting that. So I think Jimmy Butler will have a breakout performance since the games are returning to Miami right now. I want to get into a couple of key statistics from last night's Game 2 win for the Miami Heat. As I said, Miami's defense, especially from the perimeter, was excellent last night. They forced Denver to shoot for only 39% from downtown, 11-28, while Miami shot 49% from downtown, 17-35. They were excellent, especially in the first three quarters of the game, shooting the ball from the outside. But the turnover factor,
yes.
Miami committed only 11 turnovers, but Denver had 14.
Yeah, I think
that is huge.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing. I think they had like 18 or 19 turnovers in game 1. I'm talking about Miami. So, keeping that turnover number down, I think is big key here. And look, I feel like Miami's again defying the critics. Everybody thought, well, the Bulls should have beaten them in the play-in, or they lost to Atlanta, and then all that stuff. They've defied the odds all season long. Of course, beating the Bucks, number 1 seed, and they beat the Knicks. Everyone thought that they were going to get 4 or 5 games, and people thought that once they lost that 3-0 lead, you thought, oh, okay, they're going to win. Get bum rush game 7. That didn't happen. Everyone thought, including our buddy Matt Peck from CHGO. Love you, Matt, but I'm going to call you out here.
We got to get it back on.
Yeah, we do. We gotta get it back on. Then we can yell at him a little bit. No kidding, man. Love you, Matt. But he had them sweeping. I'm talking about sweeping the Heat. Have we been seeing the same postseason, folks? You're seeing exactly what you've been seeing all season long. Miami, people not giving them a shot and then surprising folks. And look, I think Gabe Vincent and Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, and like I said, Spo even too, kind of low key said, look, we know that most people aren't giving us a chance, and they're going to try to use it as motivation. I think that's sort of like what you want. And look, keep them being hungry. Look, it's not like a couple years ago during the bubble where you thought, okay, we didn't think they would have a finals. In this case, you want to be able to kind of look, we're going for keeps now. And look, it took us 3 years to get back. Look, they want to, win another title. And look, for a lot of these guys, it'll be their first. So, I think they want to try to, see what's going to be kind of like the big thing here. And they want to kind of try to capitalize on that.
Yeah, we talk about Heat culture. What is Heat culture? And what is their identity? What is their team identity? What's their organizational identity? It starts at the top with Pat Riley. We know that he was a hard-nosed head coach, even with the Lakers. Yes, he was hard-nosed, even though they had the Showtime factor with Magic Johnson, Kareem James Worthy, and some of those guys. And, of course, he changed his identity with the New York Knicks, adapting to the style with the roster that he had. The same thing he did with the Miami Heat. And so what is Heat culture, as you mentioned, Lakeena? Tough, hard-nosed, grit defensive basketball. Yes, they can score some points too, but their identity, as we said all year long, has been their defense, and you saw it last night. As you mentioned about Bam Adebayo, I thought he had a better performance in game 2 because the rest of his team stayed in the game, so he became more effective, especially on the defensive end. No, he did not guard Jokic for the whole time, and so you cannot blame Bam for Jokic going off for 40 last night. Miami threw everything at Jokic. He just scored on everyone, but the Miami Heat had 4 blocks last night. The Nuggets only had 2. Doesn't that tell you something?
Well, look again. I think people didn't think that they would look. Jokic didn't get his thing. I mean, that they had Cody Zeller on him, and I was like, well, why?
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Why? No, that was a total mismatch. Bam tried what he could, but look, Jokic is so big and strong, in the interior, and that's going to be a hard, guy to guard. And look, I think he's gotten away with a couple of things, but that's a whole different. Again, we'll probably talk about that in a minute or two. But look, I think. Don't worry about what Joker's going to do. Joker's going to get, do his thing. He's going to, I know some people were, he didn't get 10 assists, last night. I think some people thought that might have, been the thing. But look, they got Joker to miss when he needed to. I mean, they had a couple of chances where he might have put the game away for the Nuggets. That didn't happen. And once Miami got into that big lead, they were able to catch up, talk about the Nuggets, but they couldn't make the big shots late. So, and I think that's another thing. So, look, I think people were kind of like, stunned by some people were stunned by the fact that, wow, the Heat are actually pretty good and actually deserve to be in the finals. Really, what a novel concept. So, but look, I think, like I said, I got the Heat in 7. I'm feeling pretty good about that right now. We'll see, once the rest of the stuff kind of falls into place. We'll see these next 2 games at home in Miami. If we're tied 2-2, look, I think that's the best case scenario. If you're a Heat fan, if you win both your games at home, that'll probably be even better. But just split, at home, and then it'll be best of 3 after that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll be talking about a 2-2 series when we get back here after our next episode on Friday. We'll be talk about 2-2 series when we do our next Monday show next Monday. But another statistic that stood out to me from game 2 last night. Again, we talked about it in game 1 last Friday in our recap, that the Miami Heat only went to the free throw line twice. They made both their free throws. Last night at the free throw line as a team, they were 18 of 20 from the free throw line, while Denver was went 19 of 22 from the free throw line. How much will you think Miami Heat will be? Do you think they'll be more aggressive at home now that games 3 and 4 will be from South Beach?
I think now they got a little bit of tape on Denver now. Look, I think they only played like once maybe twice during the regular season. So I think they could have a little bit of tape on there. And plus, they're going to feed off the crowd. Yes, how you feel about the crowd in Miami? Yeah, they could be your front runners and whatever. But, I know that place is going to be rocking and they're going to be jumping. And I think they can feed off that energy from that crowd. There was actually a good amount of people in Denver, I should say, last night, for the Heat. So, that they kind of fed off that little energy there. And I think, look, this is going to be interesting because I think Game 3 is pivotal because, if you try to win Game 3 and, try to set the tone for Game 4, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I kind of feel like if you're Miami, you want to try to take advantage of the fact that you're going to be at home and try to maybe feed off the crowd and set the tone early.
Yeah, like you said, so with the games being back in Miami now for the next 2 games, you want to start off hot at home. You want to get that crowd behind you. You want to set the tone like you did last night on the road. Make Denver play your style because Denver, as we mentioned, they're not a great defensive team. They're a very good offensive team led by Nikola Jokic. He's a facilitator. Wants the other guys like Eric Gordon, Jamal Murray, and Bruce Brown and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. As soon as they get it going, it makes Nikola Jokic that much more effective, as we saw in Game 1. We didn't see it last night. For the Miami Heat, it's all about team effort, not just on the defensive end, even though that's where it starts offensively. As we talked about during these playoffs, Lakeena, and we saw it again last night. When the Miami Heat shoot better than 45% from the outside, the 3-point range, they usually win. And once they hit those open shots like they did last night, they're damn near unbeatable. And so I think that'll be the key for the Miami, just to get off to a better start not tomorrow night, but Wednesday night for Game 3.
Yeah, I think that's really going to be the thing. Like I said, setting the tone early. If the Nuggets start hitting their threes, and they're going to be tough to beat if you can't counteract that. Look, the Heat, they know that they're bigger and stronger, but they got to outshoot them. I think they need to be hot. You saw, look, this game, Heat could be up 2-0 if maybe if they hit their shots. Like I said on Friday, the Nuggets were not that impressive. I mean, look, they went through a time where they were very, they got cold from the field and on the 3-point line. And look, the Heat just wasn't able to kind of capitalize on that. This time they were able to capitalize, and look, they should be committed for that. So, like I said, I did not believe for one second this could be a 4-game sweep for the Nuggets. I think people, underestimated Miami, all playoff season long, and they showed you again why they're in the finals. So I think people need to kind of give them a little bit of credit here.
All right, Lakeena, I know we have a few minutes left before we not shut it down, but before we hit the break for the bottom of the hour, I want to ask you, who are the key players that you're looking forward to seeing on Wednesday night? What are your key factors? Who will you be your key factors for both Denver and Miami for Game 3 on Wednesday in South Beach?
Well, I'm gonna keep it simple for the Nuggets. Caldwell Pope and Bruce Brown. I mean, those guys were key into them sweeping. Getting in 5 against the Lakers, and I think they need to kind of be the key here. And look, neither one of them showed up last night. Well, I know Brown had 11 points, but Pope just he only scored 4, so he needs to be a little bit better shooting wise. Needing needs to kind of facilitate a little bit more of that offense. Look, the Heat, I'm gonna keep it simple. Duncan Robinson, Max Struss. I mean, those guys need to kind of, Gabe Vince. I mean, those guys need to kind of set the tone early. Look, Caleb Martin needs to have a better game too. So to me, I think those are going to be the key players here, because I feel like if they can kind of control the tempo and outshoot the Nuggets, which we've seen happen, especially during the season, they can kind of be sort of answer the bell there. So we'll see. But yeah, those are kind of like my key players for Wednesday night.
Yeah, you took one of my guys from Miami, but I'll still mention him anyway. Caleb Martin. I know he only gave you 3 points off of 21 minutes of action from the bench last night, but I want to see how he responds with the extra day off, even though he wasn't in the starting lineup last night. I want to see how he responds, because he's had a good playoff run up until this point. And so I want to see how he responds, especially now with the series returning home to Miami. Also, too, I'm looking at Gabe Vincent. He had a good game last night, led the team in scoring. I want to see if he can keep it up, because he's had a good playoff run as well. So I'm looking at Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent for Game 3. As we mentioned at the top of the segment, Jimmy Butler is due for a big game scoring rise, and I think it's going to happen on Wednesday with the extra day out between Games 2 and 3 and the extra travel day from Denver to Miami. On the flip side for Denver, Aaron Gordon, he had a great start to Game 1. He didn't have a great game last night. He disappeared. If it wasn't for that late 3-pointer, he would not have had double-digit scoring on the stat sheet last night. So I'm looking for Aaron Gordon. If he can step up. Also, too, I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr. We haven't mentioned his name yet until now. He didn't have a great game last night. I know he had committed a dumb foul on Bam Adebayo's slam dunk play in that fourth quarter. So for Denver, I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon. Those two need to step up big for Denver if they're going to win a game or perhaps 2 games in Miami on the road.
Should be interesting. Nonetheless, you've got, like I said, a pivotal Game 3 between the Nuggets and the Heat. That'll be on Wednesday night. Remember, all these games are going to be on ABC, and also too will be streaming on ESPN Plus. So if you're one of those cord cutters, you can there. Also, I think that's about it. I think the next game, I believe, hold on if I can get my schedule up here. Let me see here. Okay,
it's Friday.
I'll say Friday. So I do get a kind of every other day game, especially I guess since there's gonna be a Miami, so it's not gonna be a big thing there. But we'll talk more about game. We'll preview Game 4 coming up, on Friday during our show. So so we'll have all that covered for you. Of course, you can check it out on ABC. So we're going to take a really quick break, our last break for this edition of Second City Sports. Of course, we're going to do that hockey. We'll see if the Panthers can tie their Stanley Cup Final series against the Knights tonight. That was not a good showing by the Panthers in game 1 there. But look, it's a best of 7, so you kind of forget about that. Also, a little bit of football, because the Bills, got a couple of big signings, re-signing one of their top front 7 guys, and also too picked up a veteran front 7 guy too that could kind of definitely beef up that interior defensive line there for the Bills. Also, too, of course, you got Old School TV Monday. We'll see what Sid's got in store this week. But a lot to do still coming up next. So Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll be wrapping this up coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, sorry. Welcome back to the Monday edition of Second City Sports. Right here, we're live and living color with Sports Zone Chicago. This is our last break for our show today. I'm Sid the Kid, which is me. That's Lakeena McGee, which is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You can find Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and Lakeena McGee on the IG.
We have less than 25 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you want to hit us up in the comments section, get those last minute questions or comments in, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's do that hockey. We'll preview game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Panthers and the Knights. And, of course, we got to recap game 1. And it was 5-2. The Knights beat the Panthers. And, you thought that maybe this would probably, kind of set the tone early on. We talked about it, during our preview. You thought that maybe it was tied at 1. And this, it was actually tied at 2 going into the second intermission. But of course, the Knights would score 3 goals, and I think for me, including Zach Whitecloud's goal that kind of was a go-ahead goal with about 7 minutes in. Of course, then Mark Stone had an assisted one, and of course Riley Smith had added empty nectar from, of course, assist from Mr. Jack Eichel, and they just couldn't really get it going. And I think they got Borowski. I think they kind of caught him kind of napping a little bit in a couple of those third period goals, and you thought that maybe this could go to overtime, but I guess the Knights had other ideas. So for me, again, they were able to set the tone in that third period. I think that's really what made the difference.
So usually when two teams don't play each other that often, when you meet on the ice, usually the first period they have, but definitely the first period is usually the period where you feel each other's games out. You see what kind of strategies they're going to have, and you kind of get the tone set for that particular game. If those two teams don't play it that often, that's what the feel that I got after watching the first period. Lakeena, I know that Jordan Starr scored the first goal of the game for Florida, and they had that quick 1-0 lead before Vegas responded. But after that second period, you kind of, if you were paying attention, you could kind of tell that Vegas, if they had a hot start to that third period, they would take game one, and that's exactly what happened. Now, the game plan for Vegas, as we talked about, Lakeena, they're more of the fast-paced scoring team. They do it better than Florida, but Vegas could be physical with you too at times. Yep. What happened was with Florida, they tried to go to that, I don't want to say that goon, but that physical style type of game, trying to slow the Vegas Golden Knights down. That didn't work because Vegas scored 2 goals off of 7 opportunities on the power play, while Florida was over 2 with their man advantage. But check out these numbers. In the penalty minutes, Florida had 40, 48, 46. Vegas had 18 penalty minutes. If you're going to pile that many penalty minutes, especially during the playoff game, you got to make it count. But Florida, in my opinion, they were not smart with their physicality. They have to do that tonight for game 2. But back to game 1. Florida, they were physical, but it wasn't really effective. As you mentioned, they took dumb penalties. They were not smart. They were out of position defensively, in which affected Sergei Grabowski big time, especially in that third period. So I thought Florida, they were aggressive, but they were overly aggressive. They'll have to tone that down a lot tonight here in game 2.
Yeah, Aiden Hill was was a gem for the Knights. He had 33 saves.
Yes.
They had a couple during those penalty, but they did have a couple of chances. But they had I think Eric Stahl had another shot at it. I know a couple other guys had another. I know Matt Tkachuk, he had a couple of shots on goal during those penalties. One of the few penalties that the plow plays the Panthers did have, they weren't able to capitalize. So I think that's going to be really, if you're going to garner that much penalty minutes, I mean, that was just bad discipline. I think that sort of like shows you the kind of like the weirdness of that is. This is because it feels like they just like I think they got frustrated, especially once. I think, and I'll look up, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Whitecloud scored that goal, that gave the Knights the lead. They didn't look back after that. I think that kind of sort of showed, the Panthers sort of they got frustrated. They took some dumb penalties, and that's really was a big problem there in game 1.
Yeah, when frustration sets in and when you don't follow your game plan and bad habits start to set in. That's what we saw in the Florida Panthers. And I know they had a +7 advantage in the hits department, 36-29 over Vegas. But as I mentioned before, the 46 minutes of penalties and the 11 penalties overall to Vegas's 5, that's what really cost the Florida Panthers in game 1.
Absolutely. So let's preview game 2. It'll be tonight, of course. The TNT is the home of the Stanley Cup Final this year. What do you think? Because I think I think we all agree Panthers need to clean up their act and not take dumb penalties and not do stupid stuff. Try to go into a big lead early and give Borowski a little bit of breathing room. And I think that's going to be kind of like the thing there because look, we saw how that crowd's going to be rocking again in Vegas, and I feel like if you want to try to kind of quiet that crowd, try to set the tone early on and score a couple of quick goals, and maybe you might have a shot of perhaps evening the series up.
And also, too, for the Florida Panthers, even though they're not a race from one end of the ice to the other type of team, they need to create traffic in front of them, especially, like you say, in front of Hill, so they can create more scoring chances because you just see them do a lot in game 2. You saw that desperation in that third period in game 1, but you see a whole lot of that overall in game 1. So they need to create a whole lot of traffic in front of Hill. tonight in game 2 and cut down on the penalties. You can still be physical. You saw they tried to chip away at Vegas after every whistle. At points it does work, but most of the time it doesn't work. So Florida has to be smart and play their game. Like I said, just tone down the penalties and create traffic in front of Hill, in front of the net. If they could do that, I think they'll still game 2 tonight.
Yeah, I think look at like you said. I think I think Borowski needs to kind of give a little bit of breathing room going into come by Aiden Hill right off the bat. I mean, kind of like try to sort of like use that speed and use that that physicality, but smartly though. And like I said, we'll see what happens. But I kind of feel like I think the Panthers will get one, and they'll even the series tonight. And I kind of feel like this team, you got this far. You don't want to be down 0-2. Going back to Florida. You don't want to have to put yourself in an 0-2 hole. So that's the last thing you need if you're the Panthers. So try to set the tone early and then just go to town.
Yeah, agreed. And also to take care of the puck, because Florida did not do that in game 1. That I know they had 13 giveaways, and especially during playoff time, you give the puck away, that creates scoring chances for the other team, especially for some on-man rushes, which is very hard to come by in the playoffs. So Florida has to take care of the puck, be smart defensively, especially with the physicality, and create traffic in front of the net. Those are my 3 keys for Florida for tonight's game 2.
All right. So of course, game 2 is tonight. Like I said, on TNT, puck drop is at 7:00. Of course, they're gonna have the pregame show with Liam, Anson Carter, Biz, Wayne Gretzky, and of course, Hank, Hendrik Lundqvist. Also to the game 3, which we'll see where they'll be at by then, but will be Thursday in Florida, of course, again 7:00 on TNT in Florida. We'll see if we're gonna, by the time we get back, it'll be 2-1. But the question is, how we get to the 2-1. That's gonna be the question. Yeah. But yeah. So if you're taking TNT, I mean, I think you better hope that this game goes, this series goes pretty far. That way you can kind of get at least build the buzz on it.
Yes, and also too. Hopefully we'll have some great moments in this series, because as we talked about before the series started, Lakeena, these are traditionally 2 small market teams. They're not traditionally hockey markets. And so if you get some great moments in this series, I think fans will watch. But how many fans will watch, I don't know. But hopefully you get some great hockey and some great moments in this series, especially for 2 cities that are not traditionally hockey markets.
Well, yeah, especially when you have one that's going for their first ever title in their franchise history. So that's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, like I say, if you're TNT, you hope this goes 7, so that way you can kind of build a buzz on it, especially if it gets to 6 games, 6 or 7. So we'll see what happens there. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Of course, you got OTAs going on as we speak in many parts. All the teams in the NFL, including the Bears, of course. But we're going to talk about. The Bills actually made some news over the weekend a couple of times. They signed their defensive tackle Ed Oliver to a 4-year, $68 million extension, including with $46 million guaranteed. This is according to some of the various guys like ESPN's Adam Schefter, of course, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, among others. The $45 million guaranteed. Ed Oliver is probably one of the most top interior linemen, defensive linemen in the league. So I think he definitely gets his money's worth and such. He's definitely kind of shows you why he's one of the top guys in the league. I remember when he was at Houston, and there was a little bit of buzz about him. Maybe a little bit, not really disciplined, but sort of like there was some frustration as he left Houston. But he's come back, defensive coach in Sean McDermott, and he's been one of the top interior defenders in all the league.
Yeah, as we talked about last year, Lakeena, especially during the playoff run for Buffalo, which was cut short thanks to Cincinnati in the divisional round, they really struggled to stop the run. And Von Miller's season-ending injury had a lot to do with that as well. So this is a big pickup for Buffalo. Now, I know I'm going to beat you to it a little bit. I know they picked up a former Chicago Bear, even though it's for 1 year. Yeah, Leonard Floyd. Yeah, Leonard Floyd, who had 9.5 sacks last year for the Los Angeles Rams. He picked up a ring with them a couple of years ago when they beat Cincinnati. Buffalo signed him to a 1-year contract. I think this is a good move for Buffalo. Leonard Floyd, I know that he had his moments here in Chicago, especially against the Packers, but he didn't do too much against the other teams because he was hurt a lot. But I think this is a good move for Buffalo depth wise. We all know that Leonard Floyd, when healthy, he can rush the passer. He also is effective in the running in a run defensive game as well. So I think this is a good pickup move for Buffalo.
Yeah, I think that first it looks like Von Miller will be on track. He could be back. By the time, like, I guess the third or fourth game of the season, that's what we're hearing in the OTAs. He is doing some light workouts at this point. Having that front seven, I think that was really one of the few weaknesses that Buffalo had last year. So I think rushing the quarterback, especially once Miller went down with that ACL injury. So I think if you're the Bills, it's definitely a good sign to kind of add depth to that and perhaps that front seven to kind of especially now that you got Oliver, in the fold. So I think, they're going for it, and I got to give commend Buffalo for that. This is a good signing for them. I think it's definitely, I think this definitely will help them in that front. Now, also too, they actually keep up with the Bills. They actually did some groundbreaking in a new stadium a little bit further west of Buffalo, about a half hour west or something. They started breaking ground on that, and I think that stadium will not be rated. So I think 2027. I think I read. I might be correct me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, look, it's gonna be weird. Once that stadium is done, and we'll be interested to see what the atmosphere is going to be, because it's something like that stadium for the Bills has been iconic for years. We saw some great iconic moments. That great comeback in '93 and that wild card round against the Oilers, then Houston Oilers, I should say, and just some really great iconic moments. So it's gonna be weird, once they do finish this new stadium and they have to tear this stadium down.
Yeah, don't forget about that '91 AFC title game. I think they won that game 14-0 over Denver. And of course, the year before they blew out the Los Angeles Raiders 51-0. Remember, that was that year that Bo Jackson got hurt. Unfortunately, his football career was over the week before against Cincinnati. So there's some iconic moments in that stadium as well. Lakeena, I will say this. I'm sure we're going to dip into it just a little bit. We have breaking news on it on Friday, but it looks like, from an outsider's perspective, it looks like Buffalo is getting their stadium deal on track. Unlike the Chicago Bears, like I said, we mentioned it when it was breaking news on Friday, that it was starting to get some groundwork on that new stadium, Arlington Heights, at that old racetrack. But the city of Naperville is like, oh, we want to get in on it too.
Well, I think apparently it's a tax thing, I guess. They're saying that's why I guess, they're looking at, maybe other avenues of it, with Naperville and, and all of that. I guess, they didn't like the tax incentives and with the Arlington Heights, even though they already broke ground in that stadium. So, you're like, okay, that's interesting. They decided they wanted to do. I know we've had a couple of your friends of ours talked about it and such. I think they talked about it. I know they talked about it on the score, a couple of our friends from there. And I know our buddy Larry Howley, who is, of course, the multimedia producer for WG. I know he talked about it too in his videos. And look, it's going to be interesting to see what all friends of the show, I should say. But it's going to be interesting to see what is this going to be just a tactic to try to, maybe soften, to get Arlington Heights to kind of soften some of those things. I know we know that Kevin Warren, of course, he was a commissioner of the Big Ten for a few years. Of course, he helped build that new stadium in Minneapolis. He has a business background, so I think he knows kind of how to maneuver and stuff. But it just seems a little bit weird that they would want to go even further west than Arlington Heights. Naperville's going about a half hour west of there. So you're gonna get folks to travel. Okay, interesting, but again, we'll see how this goes, I guess.
Yeah, we know the Bears historically have not handled their business properly, especially when being put out in the public like this. And it's just another hit for right now. We'll see what happens. I think eventually all cooler heads will prevail, and they'll get that stadium deal done in Arlington Heights. I want to ask you, Lakeena, do you think that the public should be flipping the bill for these new stadiums? I don't.
No, I don't think so. I've never been a fan of having public taxpayers pay for some of these new stadiums. That's why you put the initiatives on there for voting. Sometimes they some people do vote for it, but other times it fails. So I think put it out to a vote for the people. I mean whoever. I know both Naperville and Arlington Heights are not in Cook County, so whoever I think DuPage County, maybe put it on one of their initiatives, see what happens with that. But it's gonna be interesting. But it's just, I don't know. It's just gonna be a little bit weird. But I guess, like I said, we'll try to get somebody on to talk a little bit more about it. But it just seems a little bit odd that they would do this. But okay, I guess. But But yeah, I mean, let's go to Tom Brady for a second. I know he's been iterating to like everybody who'll listen that I'm not gonna play anymore in the NFL. I know he he did an interview with Jeremy Schaap on SportsCenter a couple of days ago. And I know he did a podcast before reiterating that like, he is not certain. He's 100% certain he's not going back. He's not going to play again. I know some people thought we didn't talk about, of course, Jimmy G and that whole thing with the Raiders and all that. Some people say that maybe could. I know he's from that area, of course. I'm talking about Tom, and it's just he said, "Look, I'm not playing anymore." We saw him in Disney. I don't know if it was Disney World or Disneyland, with his youngest son, and I know he's having fun with his retirement. I know he said he's going to wait, till next year to do the broadcasting with Fox. We'll get to all that as the time comes, but yeah, I mean, it's just silly that people were starting to buzz that, Tom Brady might come back. You already filed his papers. Oh, yay. So, yeah, it's just kind of silly.
It's interesting to see the athletes like that. They like the limelight. They like the attention, just like LeBron James and others who had that type of work there and then had that type of profile and personality. If you keep putting yourself in the headlines, I'm thinking about coming back. Oh, I don't. The public is going to get tired of that very quickly. So this was a smart move for Tom Brady. I'm not playing anymore. Like you said, he's trying to look interest to part ownership with the Raiders. I don't know if that's going to go down or not. But if you keep talking about putting your name in the headlines, I'm thinking about coming back. I don't know. There's a chance. People are going to get tired of it real quick. So like you said, for Brady, I know he's going to take this year off, but he's eventually going to get back at with the broadcast. So that's what his focus should be on, outside of raising his family.
Yeah, and I think he said he's going to try to travel to some of the games this year to kind of, because remember next year Fox is going to have the Super Bowl again. So yeah, I'm hoping that they keep they do a 3-man booth with him, Kevin Booker, and Greg Olsen, because I don't want Olsen to be put out to pasture because of Brady. Still, no, but again,
these things happen in our business a lot.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I said, I'm glad I'm talking about Brady reiterated that. Look, I'm not playing anymore. All this stuff about him perhaps maybe playing for the Raiders. I know he's got a little stake in the Raiders, also with the WNBA team, the Aces, the Las Vegas Aces too. So, of course, they're the defending WNBA champs. So yeah, I'm glad he kind of said, look, he did a tour. Look, I'm not interested in playing anymore. I'm good. I like retiring. He looks great. So yeah, I'm glad he kind of felt that he had to kind of. I hate that I'm sure he said he had to kind of clear it up again for like the 100th time. But he said, look, this is for real, folks. I'm done. So
yeah. You're listening to Second City Sports on a Monday edition. We're live in living color on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena hanging out here with you. A couple of sports media nuggets before we close out with Old School TV Monday. Lakeena, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Chicago time on ESPN, they'll finally air that documentary about Bill Walton, a strange trip. I believe that a long strange trip has been. I'll get the title for you in just a second. But are you looking forward to it tomorrow night? Both parts will premiere.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like he's did a very fascinating life, and I think it's going to be
the luckiest guy in the world.
Parts
1 and 2 tomorrow night.
Okay, yeah, that'll be on ESPN tomorrow night, both parts 1 and 2, and I'm looking forward to. I'm sure. Look, he kind of had a little bit of hand on how this is made. So I'm sure he'll probably tell everything from his upbringing to his, of course, playing for John Wooden at UCLA, having that long streak broken by Notre Dame, and of course his journey in the NBA and everything else in between. So yeah, I'm sure he'll go. Like it's gonna be his own bio. So I'm sure he's gonna go all out. I'm sure it's gonna be a very fascinating. I wonder how much footage this had, and of course, what was on the cutting room floor? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
he can go on and on for like hours. So I'm sure there was like hours of footage that we probably won't see unless we have like a bonus content or whatever. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be a lot of fun. Like I said, we'll see how far. I'm sure he's gonna tell like everything, of course, from his journeys with the Grateful Dead and all that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all that.
I wonder if they're going to have Jason Benetti in this because, when Benetti was at ESPN, he did college basketball with him for years. And they did that special broadcast with the White Sox, I believe, back in 2018 against the Anaheim Angels. Of course, it was a broadcast to remember, both good and bad, quote unquote. So I wonder how much footage they're going to use for that. And they're going to mention that at all.
Yeah, and I think I wonder how much Dave Pass is going to be. Of course, he's his current partner now. I want to know how he really
Yeah.
feels about having to work with Mr. Walden, during the college hoop season, because I'm sure it's an interesting experience. I think we can safely say that.
Yep. All right. In other sports media news, this just came out with Andrew Marchand. He's for the New York Post. I want to say, in a courtesy of our good friends at Alpha, announcing another round of cuts at ESPN TV is starting sooner rather than later. Looks like it's going to be completed by the end of the month. And two names that were highlighted in this article that I was reading before we went on live today, Susie Colbert and Steve Young may be the next victims of this. It's really sad, but ESPN went through this several years ago. They're going through it now, and we all know that the sports broadcasting industry is changing. The way we view our sports is changing, and plus, let's not forget, ESPN is trying to position themselves for the next round of contracts with the NBA when their media rights deal comes up in a couple of years.
Yeah, I saw that article. Of course, we know Andrew Marchand does a great job with the sports media news. I think he and Richard Deitch and Michael McCarthy from Front Office Sports, they all do a great job. Of course, Richard Deitch with the Athletic. It would be a bummer, because I think who's going to do NFL Countdown? I mean, Monday Night Countdown, I should say. Of course, if Susie Colbert does get the boot. And I actually like Steve Young. I know some people people say Steve Young might be maybe a little bit much for some people. I actually like his perspective, so it would be a bummer if they do decide if those two are going to be the ones that get cut. There are a few other folks that should get cut, but again, we won't go there. But I won't say any names. But yeah, it'll be a bummer. But yeah, it is going to be tough that there are going to be some familiar names. They got rid of a lot of great behind the scenes people like Mike Slotis, who's been the PR guy there at ESPN for like almost 40 years almost. He got the boot. A couple other folks that have been there for many years got the boot. And so unfortunately, this is the nature of the business at this point. Guys, folks come to courts and all this stuff. And of course, there's not enough money. They could pay Pat McAfee about $85 million, but yet they could cut people. So yeah, this does look really good by ESPN standards. But it's gonna be a bummer if one or both those names that we mentioned could be few other names that could be cut as well. So yeah, it's gonna be a bummer for this. This next one's gonna be very interesting. Something to keep an eye on.
And going to NBC, the Peacock Network, former NFL quarterback Matt Castle joins the college football scene as a new analyst for the NBC's Big Ten coverage to come in this fall.
Yeah, I just saw that before we came on. When you told me, I had to give you the link. But I mean, look, he's a pretty smart guy, Matt Castle, and I think it could be a nice, it makes you feel old that a lot of these guys, we just saw these guys in college, and now they're going into NFL. He's pretty well educated. He's pretty smart, and I think, look, it's going to be interesting if this is going to be kind of like the thing here, and it's definitely like the guy that's Castle's really if you saw him when he was a backup here for many years in various teams. I mean, he is someone that is a very engaging guy, a very smart guy. I think he'll definitely add something to the table for the Big Ten coverage and whatnot. I forgot what school he went to. God darn it, I gotta look that up real quick. But yeah, I think they're starting to put something together for that Big Ten Saturday game of the week on NBC. So I think he'll be working with Maria Taylor, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, this is gonna be interesting to see who's gonna join him. I know, he went to USC. Of course, I forgot he did go to USC. So I think he's gonna be he's a very smart guy. I think he's definitely gonna bring something different to the table. I think he's gonna give a different perspective and such. I know he didn't play the Big Ten, of course. Obviously, of course, he went to SC, but he definitely adds some perspective on it. He knows how to play he knows the quarterback position. He had a pretty solid career there. Not a bad NFL career. He has a couple of Super Bowls and stuff. So, so he definitely brings some that kind of experience to the table for their Big Ten coverage on NBC.
Yeah, even though he didn't originally play in the Big Ten, he'll be the new era of the Big Ten since USC is going over there with UCLA in less than a couple of years from now. So
yeah, so it actually makes sense. So yeah,
exactly.
It all makes sense now. So yeah, so it all kind of works out for some reason. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a great addition to that pregame show. It'll be interesting to see who else is going to be named. I think they already have it set. I think they're going to add another person in there too, if I'm not mistaken. So Let me look it up real quick. But yeah, I think this is going to be interesting to see what he does and what he brings to the table, because I think he's definitely going to be the kind of guy that definitely brings a different perspective. Like I said, playing for SC, SC's going to be joining the Big Ten in the, in a couple of years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It should be he should be really good at it, I think.
Yes, couldn't agree with you more. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena here with you for the next less than 2 minutes from now, since we are wrapping up the show for today. Now it's that time for Old School TV Monday, and I am very excited about this, Lakeena. As I always do, like to surprise you folks with some good nuggets and insights into some of your favorite old school TV shows. Since this is the start of Black Music Month, Lakeena, I want to go to the animated version of Old School TV Monday, and I will want to salute to start off Black Music Month, the Jackson 5, the number 5 cartoon, and it was a Saturday. Oh yes, oh yes. Don't get so sad, young lady. The Jackson 5 cartoon series was a Saturday morning cartoon series that aired on ABC from September of 1971 until October of 1972. It was produced by Rankin and Bass and the Motown Productions. It was a fictionalized portrayal of the careers of Motown recording group, the Jackson 5. The series was rebroadcast in syndication between the years of 1984 and 1985, during the period in which Michael Jackson was riding a major wave of popularity as a solo artist. It also briefly re-aired in 1999 on TV Land as part of their Super Retrovision Saturdays lineup. The series was animated. The series was animated mainly in London at the studios of Hallis and Bachelor, and some animation was done at Studios Moro in Barcelona, Spain, and Top Craft in Tokyo, Japan. Due to the demands of the group, the roles of Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Michael were played by voice actors, with records of the group's songs being used for the musical tracks to open the show. The group did make some contribution to the cartoon in the form of live photographs of each member morphing into a cartoon, which was shown in the title scene medley. Through the musical scenes of the cartoon were cheerfully animation, and occasional live action footage of the concert or music video of the Jackson 5 will be spliced into the cartoon series. The actual Jackson 5 also contributed to the show by posing for pictures prior to the cartoon's debut, in which they were used for posters, newspaper clips, and the TV guide spots advertising for the forthcoming TV series. Lakeena, real quick, I remember that series being aired on BET back in the day, when it was Black owned. And I remember my late mother telling me about this show. It was a very popular show back then. Of course, it was the rise of the Jackson 5 group, as we mentioned, all the classic songs that came from that group at that time. I remember watching that cartoon, and I couldn't verbalize it at the time. I said, these voices don't sound like Michael Jackson. It doesn't sound like Jermaine, but it was a very entertaining cartoon. It was a fun cartoon. I enjoyed it a lot. And also, too, I want to add that it also had a laugh track as well, which I found it very weird. The only cartoon that I can remember having a laugh track at the time was the early stages of the Flintstones.
Yeah, I think I saw like 4 or 5 episodes of that series, maybe like half like the run of that series. I remember I heard about it from various folks. I know my brother and 2 of my sisters said they watched the show. My mom said they watched the show on Saturdays. Look, that was back in the day when if you were big in the 70s, 80s, and even like maybe parts of the 2000s, you had your own cartoon. Everybody had their own cartoon. The Brady Bunch kids had their own cartoon. I think Starsky and Hutch had a cartoon at one point. Yeah, everybody that was big in the 70s to like the early 2000s had a cartoon, their own cartoon series. But yeah, it made sense. Of course, they didn't, of course, with the scheduling of the Jacksons, a lot of the voices were voice actors. They weren't, I think a couple cases they were white guys, from what I read. A couple of white guys who voiced some of those guys. That's what I read. But yeah, I mean, look, it was. Look, I think it was a solid cartoon. I mean, they had misadventures, great cartoon hijinks. Like, I can't say that I watched every episode of that show, but I do remember seeing some episodes when it did air and repeats and such. But I know my mom, saw me watch it, years ago. Oh yeah, I remember this. So yeah, I mean, like, it is what it is. Like, it was a fun cartoon. Like I said, everybody that was big in the 70s to the 2000s had their own cartoon. So it was just one of them. So yeah, it was fun. It was good entertainment.
Yeah, it ran for 2 seasons, totaling 23 total episodes. And
ABC,
don't forget those.
Yes.
And it was on ABC. And it was during the time that Barry Gordy moved Motown recording studios from Detroit to Hollywood because, of course, they did movies and cartoons. And so he saw a very golden opportunity to move out to the West Coast. And that's what he did. And this is one of the many projects that came out of Motown Productions when he moved from Detroit to Hollywood.
Yeah. So I think everybody, was it was a nice, good, promotions for the group. I know they were on tour at the time and whatnot. So it was like I said, it was a solid cartoon. It aired for 2 seasons. It did better than some of the other cartoons that were on during the time. I think some of them only lasted like not even a season in some cases, or maybe one whole season. At least you got like a season and a half, 2 seasons. From that. So. I mean, it was cool. It was fun. Like I said, it was a bummer that, of course, the guys were so busy that they couldn't use their voice. So I think that would have been a little bit more authentic. But again, that was the case with all the other cartoons that were based on some of those famous folks. They use voice actors. They didn't use them. So I'm sure we'll get to some of those cartoons at some point. But
yes,
I mean, look, it was, like I said, it was fun. They kind of paved the way for a lot of the other ones. I think they were kind of like the first to kind of do all that. They're kind of like trailblazing that front, but. I'm sure they got a few royalties out of that whenever they re-air. I'm sure. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. I doubt it's streaming anywhere. I think you can find some of the episodes on YouTube, but
you can find them on YouTube. Some of them, yeah.
So I don't think it's streaming anywhere. I don't think Hulu or now Max. They used to be HBO Max and Tubi. I don't think they have them. So but it was cool. It was fun. It was a pretty good cartoon. I won't say it was bad, but it was okay for what it was.
Yeah, so for Old School TV Monday to kick off June Black Music Month, we salute the Old School TV cartoon series from ABC, The Jackson 5. Lakeena, close us out.
You can find Akita McGee on the Twitter, and Akita's going to be in the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Just go to the Google Play Store and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. Please download our podcast. We're available on all podcast platforms at War Media Podcasts. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. As we mentioned, we're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends. And I know our buddy Brandon was asking, he's going to be going out of town. He wants to listen to us. Look, if you got the Roku TV, of course, you guys can listen to us anytime, anywhere on Roku television. As long as you got the Roku TV app, the Roku app with you, whether it's on your cell phone, or your smartphone, whatever, or your Chromebook, or whatever you got, you can use to us anytime, anywhere you want. Just type in Sports Zone Chicago. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya. What's up, cuz? You might be seeing us there on tonight. Well, maybe we'll see. Maybe. And also of course, the Smoke Fellas as well. So you catch us anytime, anywhere you want, Brett. As long as you got the Roku app on your device, you can listen to us anytime.
Yes. So Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV is available live and on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
And we will provide all of that.
Yes.
Just want to get a couple of shows real quick. Of course, we got the college baseball playoffs. Trey Richardson from TCU had like 8 RBIs in one game. Yesterday against Arkansas. I think they're going to the Super Regionals, and I know the Women's College World Series is finishing up. They're going to be down to their final 2 as we speak. There's a couple of semifinal matches going on right now. I know theirs starts on Wednesday, so check that out for all of you, all you college baseball and softball fans out there as well. And enjoy the I know the air is a little bit weird right now, so be safe and all that. But for Sid and Lakeena, this is Kentucky Sports. Enjoy the sports. Enjoy the NBA Finals, the baseball, and of course the Stanley Cup Final as well too. So check it out all week long. We'll see you guys Friday. This is Kentucky Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
Go Sox! Holla!